Welcome back to Returning to Basics. We are looking at planting part of our fall garden today. We're looking at 3 different kinds of kale. I have a dwarf blue curly kale. I found at the big box store a Seeds of Change dinosaur kale. This will be really interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing what that does. I also have spinach, but I'm also really tickled to try some seeds that Neil saved. We had some red Russian kale that survived through the winter, and we saved a bunch of seeds. So we really liked it, so we're going to try planting some of these seeds and seeing how it does. And as I said, this is just part of the fall garden. And we've been sick, and we're coming out of it now, so we're going to try to get this done today and get our greens started for the winter. Well, we're out in the dirt. Neil has topped off this bed with our cow manure and compost. We've only done part of the bed because we still have peppers and squash coming in down there, but this down here was the sweet potatoes and it's all played out. So I'm using 1/2-inch PVC just to kind of level it out. And we love kale, we love spinach, we eat a lot of it. So I'm going to overplant, and we will have this thinned out before winter, that's for sure. So I'm just using this to make a little indentation to be able to tell where my rows are going to be, and then we'll plant. Just push down, make an indentation. It doesn't need to be real deep. Here, push that, level that out and redo that. Okay. Just kind of level it. Push. Okay. This is a red Russian kale that survived the winter in our other garden, in the in-ground garden. And I saved a bunch of seeds. Neil pulled the plants up, laid them aside to dry, and I've harvested seeds. So we're going to give this a go and see if they will germinate. I did germinate some in the greenhouse. We'll see how they do here. Tiny little seeds.
I know deer love it after it gets cold. It gets a frost on it.
And they say that kale gets a lot sweeter and tastes better after a light frost.
I believe that because they won't touch it. Deer will not touch it until it's frosted. After it's frosted, if you have any, well, you won't have any.
Not in the woods.
We did some work up at Dogwood Trace by our cabin, some dirt work, and the ground was bare, and so I spread kale
That's all I'm going to do with this.
on that bare dirt, and the deer didn't touch it until it got cold. And I thought, I couldn't believe they didn't touch it. And then after it got cold, they mowed it down.
Disappeared. We need kale signs, red Russian kale signs.
Okay.
I'm going to do
Toward the end there.
the dwarf blue curly leaf. These seeds, I have more kale. I package kale and store it a certain way so that it'll last for a long time, years. These I bought at the end of the season in the big box store out in the garden center, and they were a little bit damp. So I'm going to plant these. These will not be something that you can store very long, I'm afraid. I think they were probably exposed to too much humidity. These are brown. They're easier to see on this black dirt. And as I said, I'm planting them thick because we love it, and we will be eating on these as soon as we can eat on them and then not kill them.
You're planting them very thick, aren't you?
Yes.
Thinking they may not all germinate?
No, I hope they do because we will eat off them. We'll thin them and eat. We'll start eating pretty quick. All you got to do is nip the leaves off for salad. And they'll put more leaves out. But in the process, there will be some that will not make it. So they'll be thin.
We will not bore you planting every row and videotaping every row, so we'll come back to you in a few minutes whenever we have everything planted.
Okay. All right. This is planted. I've got to cover the seeds up. It's amazing the difference in the seeds from plant to plant. You can't see the seeds in these 3 rows because they're black. These are the ones that we raised in our in-ground garden last year. These little brown ones are the blue kale, and you see how close I planted seeds. I'm not real sure that they'll come up because of the condition of the package, but then you get down here and you have spinach, how different it looks, and I'm barely going to cover these up. These are just the kind you just barely cover. Once you start watering, you'll water them in good, and that'll make them sink them down in there good. We actually ran out of room, so at the end of the tomato garden out there, where I had no luck with sweet peas, I think I had a critter snacking on them, then we'll probably add some bags and raise that end up like we did here, and put some more spinach out there, and I have a little more kale too. Some of the kale that we raised in the in-ground garden. Okay, we got it all planted. We barely covered up the rows. These seeds do not require very much depth of coverage. Whenever you're planting out a bed, be sure and think about how far you can reach. Have plenty of room on each side so that you can get in here and reach and harvest or plant. And also, I find it very helpful. Neil, show the edges where we've marked stuff. I mark beginning and end of each row. That way, if anything else comes up in here that's not in a direct row, I know it's to be pulled out. When they're young seeds, young things popping up in the ground, sometimes it's hard to tell if there's weeds or if they're the seeds you planted. So this way you know, for the most part, especially when you put in fresh dirt like we did, or compost. Over the course of the winter, this compost will pack down even more. In the spring, since these are relatively new beds, we will actually, more than likely, put more compost manure on top. So, you see, it's not that hard to do a winter garden. In fact, winter gardens have much fewer pests. They're much easier to do as far as maintaining. The hot weather's over with, the pests have died back, so you can have a good fall garden into your frost. Spinach and kale survive, if they get up tall enough, they survive frost really well. We're actually a little bit late doing this, so get busy and get a fall garden planted. Thanks for going along with us here on Returning to Basics. Please press the like button, hit the bell if you want to know more about things coming up, and subscribe. That would really help us. Thanks a lot. God bless and have a wonderful day.